What is going on, beautiful people? My name is BetSam, and this is going to be the Dana White's Contender Series Week 2 breakdown. Week 1, we didn't release a full breakdown video, but we did do a watch-along, which we are going to be doing tomorrow as well. We went 4-1 in that 5-fight card last week, and, we selected one underdog that got it done. The only person that let us down was Mangos, and honestly, that was the most boring fight of the entire card. Dana White went furious on both of those guys, but we had BetSam Susakaev came out there, looked amazing, just got a win last week as well in that 319 Hamzat card, went out there with his teammate, got it done. As you can see, we got the shaved hair, no mustache as well, in support of our boy BetSam Susakaev and Hamzat Chimaev. Both those guys went out there, did their thing, looked amazing. It was a beautiful week of fights for sure. Now this week, guys, there is actually a potential for a lot of underdog upsets. So bear with me. There is going to be a lot of in-depth talk and, just strap in because I think this week is going to be a lot more exciting than last week. We're going to start from the bottom of the card, work our way to the top. I will actually work in some timestamps here, so roast me in the comments if you don't see some timestamps popping up. First fight of the night is going to be Tommy Cuozzi and Ramiro Jimenez. Now, Tommy Cuozzi, little T, he's a pretty young prospect, and he has an 8-0 record with 8 finishes. That is a 100% finish rate. 10-0 on the Ramiro Jimenez side with a couple of decision victories sprinkled in. I will say this, right? The Ramiro Jimenez side is a minus 350 favorite. He's minus 400 on some books. I would say I understand him being favored, given the fact that he has fought against much better competition and also has shown his toughness. If you go back and you look through his victories here, knockout victory over Devontae Sewell, and then this fight over here gets another knockout victory over Nicholas Banner. But these last 3 fights here, Pablo Burgos, this decision was a 2-round fight that happened almost 2 years ago, and it was an absolute war. Pablo Burgos, I think, actually won round 1, and so I think this fight should have been a draw, but that aside, we saw that this guy's incredibly durable. He can be knocked down multiple times, like he was in the first round there, and find a path to victory. And then you see both these fights. You're not reading this wrong. They were all on the same day. He went out there, fought 3 times in a tournament-style, bracket-style fight series, similar to my New Zealand homies who know King in the Ring, which Navajo Sterling, Dan Hooker, Kai Kara France, and a bunch of others have competed in that tournament bracket where they fight 3 times in one night. So we know that Ramiro Jimenez is an absolute beast. He's a Mexican. He is tough. He is durable. He comes out and he hits like an absolute truck. He's fought the better competition. On the Tommy Cuozzi side, you see here, look, stoppage, and then goes out there against Paul Teague, submission. Goes out here against Tia Ray Lang, and you actually might recognize this guy here. Tia Ray Lang, he fought on the Dana White's Contender Series against none other than Steven Nguyen. So this guy we've seen before under that 4-1 mat before as well. Then against Eric Belcher gets the KO, and then a submission here to Giovanni Meza. One thing I will say is that you watch Tommy Cuozzi's fights. Some of these fights are taking place in high school, basketball courts. Tommy Cuozzi isn't exactly out there on the big stages delivering his performances, but he has been can crushing, and he's been doing a phenomenal job of it. That doesn't translate that well to this level of competition historically. However, I will say that, the value is on the underdog here because while Jimenez should go out there and do his thing, Tommy Cuozzi has pretty decent back takes. He has good control. You can see he can hunt for a rear naked choke, and I can see him getting a back take here against Jimenez if they get into an awkward scramble position. The pick is going to be Ramiro Jimenez. However, as far as an official, bet that I'm making, it might be Tommy Cuozzi. I haven't got there yet. I might have to go do a little deeper dive again. But after watching the tape, I think this man has a chance. He just hasn't fought anybody that is credible. So, I can't really say that he's going to be able to perform the way that he has against anybody of notable value. So, Ramiro Jimenez, understandable, the favorite, but I do think the line is wide. The official prediction is actually going to be this fight not to go over a round and a half. It's not going to be a side. I'm just going to say take the violence bet. Both these guys are high level, high aggressive finishes, not necessarily high level. But I'm going to take this fight to go under 1.5. Let's move on. Then we have Joshua Hokit taking on Guilhermo Uriel, I think, or Guilhermo Uriel. I could be butchering that name. It is Brazilian, and I'm as white as the moonlight comes. So Josh Hokit is only 5-0. He has a wrestling base. He is an athlete. I believe he has an NFL background to some degree. And Guilhermo Uriel is just a swang and bang striker. This is a big Brazilian who has a lot of speed, a lot of power. when I went into doing the tape study for this, I expected Guilhermo to actually be sloppier than he was. His striking, it is kind of credible. His low kicks are there. His hands look pretty quick. He's got danger. He possesses power for sure, but he gasses out pretty hard, man. You watch this guy fight in his last and only loss against Lucas Camacho. He was beating the shit out of Lucas Camacho. The live odds probably would have been minus 1,500 to minus 2,000 on the live. Then he just started sucking air. Lucas Camacho saw it and just poured on the pressure and got him out of there. On the Josh Hokit side, though, you go look through every single one of these performances. Not a single one of these guys is credible at all. These are all, Eric Lunsford, if you go through this guy's Tapology, it's a couple of, and excuse me, because, you guys might think I'm fat, but these guys are fat as fuck, man. Like, you look at the level of competition, and then the competition that level of competition is for. These unranked regional heavyweights in America are atrocious, man. They are, I'm talking 300-pound guys with man titties at 5'8". It is crazy work. So Josh Hokit, yeah, he's 5-0, but he's bought cab drivers and freaking, Uber Eats guys because Josh Hokit has beaten nobody of any named value. He's looked good while doing it, but here against Guilhermo Uriel, minus 500 favorite. I get it because of the wrestling upside and because Uriel gasses. But for me, this is a no-bet situation on a side. However, I am going to take a crack at the under 1.5 rounds. It's another one where I see both guys coming out here with very little adversity within their careers. I think they're looking to put on a statement. We had a boring Dana White's Contender Series last week, which means we're going to see these guys coming out here hot out the gate. The official pick is going to be Josh Hokit to win inside the distance. But, man, as far as like a bet goes, I'm not touching that one as far as a pick goes. So we're going to move on to the next. Then we have Lewis Lee Scott versus Kaushik Saikumar. And, guys, I know that Indian fighters have not really held a torch inside of the UFC banner. They've barely scratched the surface, and they haven't done well. And I think that the racial bias is built into this line here because I went into this matchup expecting to pick Lewis Lee Scott, expecting him to throw some premium bets on him. I watched this guy and I was incredibly unimpressed. On the Kaushik Saikumar side, he looks, as you might expect, of a student of Ryan Hall, which is the gym that he trains out of. The UFC fighter Ryan Hall is the owner and his head coach, I believe. And, he fights like that. If he gets rocked, he goes to his back. He starts doing the little bicycle kicks and trying to reach out for the legs rather than trying to build back a base. And the ref stood it up a few times in a couple of matchups I watched. The one thing I will say is that this guy's not a pussy. This is not the case of Anshul Jubilee getting barked at and finished up in the third round because, he just decided to quit on himself. This guy is very tough. And even though his head movement is almost non-existent, he stands straight up in the air with his long neck up there. I think this guy's tough, man. I think that he is a natural-born fighter in the sense that he's not just going to quit on himself. And against Lewis Lee Scott here, this dude does not deserve to be a minus 400 favorite. I know he trains out of Manchester Top Team, which is where Lerone Murphy is from. He probably gets in some rounds with him, but there are fighters that train with John Jones and still look buns, I'm just saying, So in this matchup here, do I expect Lewis Lee Scott to go out here and get it done? Most likely. But at a 4-1 favorite, I would honestly probably lean towards the dog here because the value in this situation is that, the pressure could get to him. And if you guys haven't seen, just a couple of hours ago before I started making this video, Lewis Lee Scott is the only fighter that missed weight for this Dana White's Contender Series, and that was on his second attempt as well. He was 2 pounds over. He went and sucked some more weight out of his body, still was 1.5 pounds over the limit. So Lewis Lee Scott, failed to make weight. Could that impact him here? It honestly really could. So Kaushik Saikumar could rise to the occasion as a plus 300 underdog here. There's one thing as well that going through the tape study, I believe it was in his last fight. No, it wasn't. It was in this matchup here against Edgar Oliveira, I believe. There was actually an instance where they went to the ground and Lewis Lee Scott, instead of building back up to a base or trying to get top control, he rolled for a heel hook. And that is alarming because if you're coming up against a student of Ryan Hall and Kaushik Saikumar, you see somebody rolling for your leg for a heel hook. You probably think it's Christmas morning and you're unwrapping the gifts early. So Kaushik Saikumar, if they get into a 50-50 position, this man's gym is 50-50 Martial Arts Academy. So I heavily advise Lewis Lee Scott not to be rolling for no heel hooks in this matchup here, or he might find himself on the other side of defeat. As for the official prediction for this one, I do expect it to go long, so rather than picking a side, you could play the over 2.5. And if there is a finish, I actually expect it to be on the Saikumar side. This guy hasn't been finished before. As I said, he's historically very durable. I don't expect Lewis Lee Scott to find a submission either. So if he is to win by a method of victory, I would say it's a Lewis Lee Scott by decision. And if there's a finish, I would say it's actually Saikumar that's getting it done there. So we're going to move on from that one. Then we have my most anticipated matchup for this one, which is actually Brandon Holmes versus Cam Rowston in the co-main event. And you might see Cam Rowston's name. It says Australia there. This man trains and fights out of City Kickboxing, Auckland, New Zealand. And a lot of people always rip into me saying you're a glazer, you're biased, all the rest of it. I picked Kai Kara France against Alejandro Pantoja. And you know what? I was wrong. That was a biased pick. This one isn't. I've never met Cam Rowston. I've never supported this guy in any real capacity. But he does train out of City Kickboxing Auckland, and I did do my research on him. And I think that he goes out there and cooks Brandon Holmes. Brandon Holmes is a slight favorite here, and I don't understand why. I think this could be, some bias that he's a United States guy, and he's got the undefeated record, whereas you see a few losses here on Cam Rowston. We've seen Cam Rowston lose on the Dana White Skin Series format before against Torres Finney, but Torres Finney is a brick, man. That guy is not comparable to Brandon Holmes when it comes to the grappling and the heaviness that he had. And even in that matchup, he really struggled to hold Cam Rowston down for any meaningful period of time. So when I went into the tape study here, I was expecting to pick Cam Rowston, and I did. And this fight here against Zach Braga is exactly why. You watch Brandon Holmes, he's eating 1-2s down the pipe like it's what he's getting served for lunch, And so Brandon Holmes, even though he is durable and he did come back and win that fight via finish, you could see that he got dropped multiple times. And also in his grappling, he's very raw. I haven't seen him display any dominant grappling, so I don't expect that he's going to have a plan B if Rowston has his way with him on the feet. And I could see that Cam Rowston, if he offensively wrestled, would be able to take Brandon Holmes down and control him on the mat as well. So I'm going to go Cam Rowston. Give me the battle graph. This is my official underdog pick, and I'm going to take him on the money line here. But I'm also going to play the under 2.5 because I think that he could see what I see in the tape study here with Brandon Holmes being susceptible to the 1-2 down the pipe. And, he's got the length. He's got the reach advantage. I could see him utilizing that for sure. Also, potential submission is on the table there as well. The one hesitancy that I might have, this has also come from the weigh-in today. Brandon Holmes on the scale looked phenomenal. This guy looked in the best shape of his fucking life. Instead of having a goofy haircut, he had a nice, clean, bald, shaved head. He was looking jacked, more jacked than ever in his career. And so this guy is not letting this opportunity go by. He's coming in. He's been training hard. And that is the only hesitancy that I may caution people to load up large on this matchup. And for the final, we have the main event, Manuel Expositio versus Jose Delano. In this matchup here, I'm not going to talk too much about Manuel Expositio. This guy was unimpressive to me. He is very raw. He has a lot of power. He's explosive. But when I watch Jose Delano, this man is reminiscent to me of Dominic Cruz. This guy really understands the striking range. He understands the foot placement battle. He understands moving and touching. And at 15-3, he's got experience beyond his years, honestly. For a Brazilian fighter, he's very calculated. He comes in there. He utilizes his movement, gets the outside foot placement. He's got good striking, great sprawls, fantastic takedown defense. I love everything I see out of him, and I think that he's coming into this at the best point of his MMA career. His lone loss of late was against Gabriel Santos in round 3, a liver punch, beautiful liver shot, and it was a punch that finished him up, but it was the leg kicks of Gabriel Santos and the pressure that really opened up the striking with the hands as well. And that's a very, very respectful loss. Jose Delano is going to be the pick, and I think out of the heaviest favorites, I think he's the one that punches the ticket, and I think he is parlay safe. Guys, that is going to be the official breakdown, and if you want to unlock my bets, see where I'm putting my money, because I've got a bunch of plays already on this card, you can sign up to wewantpicks.com/BetSam. The link in the description for all my bets and many other tools, code BetSam for 10% off. And don't forget, I will be live tomorrow as well with the fights, so you can come watch me for Dana White's Contender Series tomorrow for the live stream. We're going to be live throughout the whole time, doing a watch party. Come hang out with the boys. I'll see you there.